All right, baseball news. Yesterday, the Red Sox press conference to introduce Alex Cora, former player. Obviously spent last season bench coach with Houston, so he knows all about a really good team and winning a World Series. That is for sure. And I think he also understands the importance of winning a World Series with the Red Sox. That is what it's all about, really, with any team, right? Whoever they hire, the ultimate goal, win a World Series. How can you get us to the World Series and into the winner's circle? Sean McAdam has been covering the Boston sports scene for a very long time and covering the Red Sox now with the Boston Sports Journal, and joins us here on Big Board Sports 104.5 at Team ESPN Radio in Albany. Sean, Roger Weiland, Chris Honorado, good morning.
Morning, guys. Sorry for the delay.
That's all right, Sean.
You survived the DMV, man. Congratulations.
Yeah, well, how's this for pathetic? Today's my birthday, and I realized a few days ago that my license was expiring, of course, because they link those two. So nothing like spending the morning at the DMV when it's your birthday.
Yeah.
And then with us.
I apologize for rescheduling.
No problem. We appreciate it, Sean. What is your general opinion of the hiring of Alex Cora as the new manager of the Red Sox?
Well, look, there's a lot we don't know with anybody who hasn't managed in the big leagues. So a lot of this is kind of projection and trying to figure out how someone is going to do in that job. We're doing that as media members. Other people are doing it as fans. And frankly, there's even a little bit of a projection on the part of the Red Sox, because when someone hasn't done the job, you're hoping that he has the tools to accomplish it. But I think it's a positive move. I've always liked Alex Cora. I found him to be a pretty insightful guy when he was a player here in the mid-2000s and part of the 2007 World Championship team. He certainly has grown in terms of experience, not in managing necessarily, but some other things, foray into media for a few years, and, of course, this past year as the Astros bench coach. He's a bright guy. He's bilingual. I think he understands the modern challenges that face a manager in the big league. You've got to communicate with players, and he certainly highlighted that aspect of the job yesterday. You have to be open to analytics and some of the new things that are part of managing in 2017. So, there's a lot that we're going to learn about him. But for now, I think it's a as a franchise.
Sean, a lot of what you just said sounded like it was almost, and I know it wasn't intentionally done, almost pulled out of Brian Cashman's teleconference yesterday that he had with some of the Yankees reporters, and that one of the reasons he cited for Joe Girardi being let go or not brought back, or however you want to term it, was his lack of connection to the players. So as somebody who is in the clubhouse every day and covering a team on a daily basis throughout the summer, I know you detailed a little bit there about the modern day challenges, but Cora grasped it that quickly that he has to find some personal level to connect with the players on in order to be successful?
Yeah, and I think, Chris, that, what he did with the Astros in the last season probably was a great primer for this job, because in a lot of ways the Astros are kind of the model modern franchise. They have embraced maybe more than any other of the 29 other major league franchises the importance of analytics. They were at the forefront of that revolution. And I think he also sees in A.J. Hinch, whom he supported as the bench coach, that you also have to, it's not just about the dry numbers and the shifting and spin rates and launch angles and all the things that are now part of baseball, but also making a connection with the players and communicating with them. And, he talked about a relationship that he had with Carlos Beltran and continues to have. They've known each other for 25 years. They grew up together in Puerto Rico, played against one another in winter ball, were teammates with the Mets, were close friends with one another's families, and yet there came a time when Beltran wasn't producing as the DH this past year, and they had to reduce his playing time. And I think that when you have that foundation of a relationship, it's a lot easier to get that message across. Sometimes it's difficult because, you've established a friendship and there's a closeness there, and you've got to give somebody news they don't want to hear. In Beltran's case, that he wasn't going to be playing as much, but because there was a foundation of trust that was already established, it made it a little easier to get that message across. So I think that's a prime example of him already putting that to the test and understanding how important personal relationships are these days.
Sean, big shoes to fill, right? I mean, John Farrell won back-to-back divisional titles, won a World Series, and still shown the door. Joe Girardi, tremendous win-loss record, gets them to one win from the World Series, and whatever the relationship he didn't have with Brian Cashman came back to haunt him a little bit. Is that something similar in Boston? I mean, why was John Farrell shut the door?
Well, I don't know that there's any one reason that you can cite there, Roger. Other than I think that in both New York and Boston, and Girardi lasted literally twice as long as Farrell, 10 years to Farrell's 5. But you can almost measure the years in markets like that in dog years. 5 years in Boston is probably the equivalent of 10 in Kansas City or Pittsburgh or Milwaukee or some smaller market. So I think there does come a time where maybe the players tune you out a little bit. I think Farrell was a bit more detached and removed this year, probably to his detriment. There were certainly some issues in the clubhouse with the David Price, Dennis Eckersley mess, the Manny Machado issue in Baltimore earlier in the year, where the Red Sox had sort of mixed messages as to how they responded and what they said. And I think also there came a time where Dave Dombrowski, who inherited John Farrell, and inherited John Farrell at a time when he was fighting cancer, was not in a position to sort of choose his own guy. And after you've had 2 years of, yes, winning the division, but not doing anything in the playoffs, one postseason win in 2 years, then that was Dombrowski's opening to bring somebody in here with whom he connected a little bit more. And once again, we get back to that relationship word. More than ever, there is a hands-on aspect to the GM and managerial relationship these days. It used to be, and I can remember when I started covering baseball and Lou Gorman was the GM of the Red Sox, you wouldn't see him down in the clubhouse more than maybe 3 times a year. There was a feeling that the clubhouse was the manager's domain, and that you didn't cross that line. The general manager was in the front office upstairs. The manager ran things down in the dugout and clubhouse and on the field, and never the twain shall meet. Well, that's not the case anymore. There's a lot of information being exchanged from the front office to the manager, and there's got to be a comfortable relationship between the two. And I think that in both the Cashman-Girardi instance and also Dombrowski-Farrell, that had withered away, and it was probably time to put a new partner in there.
The website is bostonsportsjournal.com. You'll get comprehensive coverage of the Celtics, the Bruins, the Patriots, and, of course, the Red Sox. You'll find so much of Sean McAdam's work on that website, bostonsportsjournal.com.
And I just got one more for you, Sean. Is there any free agents that you think the Red Sox are going to be really going after here in a big way?
Yeah, I think J.D. Martinez is the guy for the Red Sox. They clearly need an upgrade offensively. They were a middle-of-the-pack team in terms of runs scored, and they were dead last in the American League in home runs. Whoever thought that would be said of a Red Sox team? But clearly they need to get better as an offense, and a guy like J.D. Martinez is a perfect vehicle to do that. Beyond that, there are 2 other things in his favor. One, he's got a history with Dombrowski. Dombrowski sort of took him off the scrap heap after he got released by Houston 3-4 years ago, so there's a history there. And secondly, because he was traded in the final year of his contract from Detroit to Arizona, he does not have any compensation attached to him. That isn't the case with somebody like Eric Hosmer, who might otherwise fit what the Red Sox need. I happen to think Martinez, beyond those issues, is the better fit, but his history with the GM and the fact that he won't cost them a draft pick or any international free agent signing pool bonus money sort of puts it over the top. So I would expect that's the guy they're going to go after most aggressively.
Interesting.
This will help our next segment. You don't have to go in great detail about it, but if I were to ask you who is the American League MVP, whom would it be?
I think that, you're going to have some Aaron Judge votes, although I think the fact that he kind of disappeared there for about 6 weeks from the All-Star break until the 1st of September is going to cost him some. My vote would be Altuve as a guy who was consistent all year long, did everything from that team, from hitting almost 340 to stealing bases to playing Gold Glove defense to being a leader on that team. I think he's a terrific all-around player, and my guess is, although I don't have a vote in that department this year, is that Altuve will win, and I think he should win.
Well, there's somebody right next to me that does not buy into Altuve.
And Sean, despite being from Northern Jersey, which I am not a Yankees fan. They broke my heart as a Braves fan throughout the 90s. I just feel like, look, I don't know. Maybe I'm caught up in the Aaron Judge mania stuff, but to me, with what he did and getting a Yankees team that wasn't expected to do too much to the postseason, he would get my vote. But again, I don't have one. So.
All right, this is all a tease. So thank you, Sean. We appreciate that, and we'll see what Chris has to say, and I've got my take on it as well. Thanks for a few minutes. We'll be back in touch. A lot of Boston fans here in the Capital Region, Sean.
All right, guys. Always good being on with you.
Thanks for having me.
Sean.
Sean McAdam,
Happy birthday, man.
Boston Sports Journal.
Thank you.
Celebrating his birthday right here.
How about
with
that?
us on
right.
Big Four Sports.